Hey everybody, this is John at Reset and welcome to Coffee Convos. Today, I have my friend Bill Sullivan of the Folsom Telegraph with us, so let's give him a big round of applause.
Yeah, thanks for having us on here, John. Appreciate it. And making the best out of this situation where we can't be sitting and having coffee in your new shop.
I know, man, that's going to be great, right? It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. So we're practicing.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I have a lot of questions for you today. Huh?
Great. Let's see if I can answer them.
Oh, I bet you can. You're a smart man. You're in the newspaper business.
I could at least give you a good story if I can't answer it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, good. So the newspaper, let's see, it was founded in 1856. Is that correct?
1856. Yeah. So
All right.
it's been there a while. So not
Yeah.
in this location, but on this street, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I was reading something about that recently. Wasn't it in the basement of a
Uh,
building, like on the corner of Sutter and Wool at one time?
yeah, it's a basement of a shop, kind of kitty corner from where your shop is there.
Okay.
There's actually a little plaque out in front of the sidewalk. I think it's vacant right now.
Oh, okay.
And it was in the basement of there from what obviously I wasn't here that back then, although I feel like it's
Oh,
not.
you haven't been there from the beginning.
No, I wasn't there from the beginning. So, but I read about it. It was a basement. Started by a local doctor, Dr. Bradley, started a community newspaper. And it was called Granite Journal then because Folsom was Granite City back then.
Okay.
And Folsom soon became Folsom from Granite City. From what I've read, Granite City was because it was basically we're sitting on a rock here,
Okay. Yeah.
full of granite. So as the city changed its name, the Telegraph eventually stayed. It was about 20 years later or something, if I remember. I thought I jotted it. 1884, 1885. It officially became the Folsom Telegraph after a bunch of goofy little different names. It morphed into that, and it's been that way since. So.
Oh, there were other names in between.
Yeah, I read there was a Folsom Daily Telegraph, and they
Okay.
had different ones, and then there was the Semi-Weekly Telegraph, and
Oh, yeah.
they had those two words in there, but they kept putting other stuff, and now it's since about 1884, it's been the same.
The occasional telegraph.
The occasional, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So anyhow, we're not the Telegraph because there is actually a the Telegraph in United Kingdom somewhere.
Okay. I think it's interesting that, I wonder what went behind that name change if they, from a journal to a telegraph. I mean, as technology changed.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it had to do with messaging.
Okay.
Getting a message, because that's how they communicated back then was you'd send somebody a telegraph.
Right.
So I think that's more than likely where they got the name. If we dug deeper, we could probably
Yeah.
find out. But I'm assuming that would make the most sense as to where they got the term telegraph.
Right. Well, and there's not that in the grand scope of things, there's not that many years from the invention of the telegraph to the telephone.
Yeah.
So, but I guess maybe the telegraph was like an urgent message, like
Yeah.
you're paying.
Breaking news, urgent news.
Sure, you're paying,
Yeah.
for word to get something to somebody immediately.
Yeah,
So,
it's typed. So that's probably where it came from.
so if we were to change the name today, what would it be? The Folsom what? What's
I
what?
don't know. I mean, the
What
telegraph kind
communicates
of had that.
urgency?
The telegraph's pretty well known, so we never even thought about that because we wouldn't want to change our branding. But
Oh
I,
yeah, no, I think you should keep the branding. It's awesome.
yeah,
But I mean, it's just
yeah. I mean, we could call it your best community newspaper. There we go. That'd be good.
well, there you go.
That's personal opinion, but we could call it something like that. So
So hey, what's your official title there?
I'm the associate publisher of Gold Country Media.
Okay. So
And Gold
talk to us
Country
a little
Media,
bit about Gold Country Media then.
Gold Country Media is our parent company is Brim Communications, but when I say company, it's family owned. It's the Brim family that owns Brim Communications,
Okay.
and they have about 40 different publications. So here, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and Gold Country is actually one of their biggest clusters of publications because we're Folsom Telegraph, the Auburn Journal, Lincoln News Messenger, Placer Herald, which is Rockland, Roseville Press Tribune, and the
Okay.
Loomis News. So we have
Okay.
6 newspapers in this area. So When I came here about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, I came back in advertising. I came back, then I moved from Roseville to Folsom and just did Folsom, and then eventually became, so I oversee a portion of all of the papers, as far as our content, and work with our editors. We have different editors in those two places.
Okay.
And so I kind of stayed based here. So that's a summary. We focus on community news. Loomis, the Loomis paper is Loomis. The Rockland, Loomis, Rockland, and Roseville are all in that South Placer community. Auburn is very much Auburn centric, and of course Folsom is very much Folsom and El Dorado Hills. And the only reason for that is we used to have a second paper there. Folsom wanted to know more about El Dorado Hills. El Dorado Hills wanted more. We just brought them together. So it's Folsom Telegraph, and we cover all the way up to there now.
Okay.
Rather than do two different newspapers with the same news, was this more sensible and make a better, more solid product. So that's
they're kissing
several magazines too. We have several gloss monthly magazines in the different regions also. But newspapers is that's the heart of this business. And then we also print a lot of other people's newspapers. We've printed a lot of stuff for News and Review. Some newspapers out of town you'll see we printed. So Amador's paper.
So Sacramento News and Review, SNNR?
Yeah, we printed some of their special publications,
okay,
and stuff like that. And we print papers for, there's a newspaper out in Amador County. We print and deliver their paper because we have the printing presses. And
okay.
Things are kind of bulky for people to have around. So that's a bulk of our business too, is providing printing for other publications.
Yeah. Although I did read an interesting story once upon a time about the original press. I don't know how many presses you've had over the years, but apparently it was like a traveling press.
Yeah, they could roll it around. Yeah, and they'd had to put all the pieces in there. Yeah. The one we have now, you certainly couldn't travel around. I mean, it fills a warehouse, so it's kind of a sight to see when that thing's running. So.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Oh, I want to see that sometime.
Yeah.
Can you sneak me in?
Yeah, and that's based in Auburn because your Folsom paper's printed in Auburn. It's
okay.
They run 24/7. Well, right now we're not 24/7 because we're printing less stuff for people, but normally we're running every day for, if it's not for us, it's for somebody.
Okay. So how many years ago did you say you moved here?
I was in this business right out of high school, and I got out of it, not working for here. I worked for a newspaper in El Dorado County. It was still there, a Mountain Democrat. And I was one of those kids in high school, junior, senior year. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. You got your mom and dad going, "You're going to be a doctor? You're going to be a dentist? You're a rocket scientist?" I didn't have an idea what exactly I was going to go major in. And but I did have an interest in photojournalism and photography, which started when I was about 10 years old. I dug a old camera out of a box my mom had. It was going to Goodwill, and she got me film for it. And I always had an interest. And in fact, I still have that camera, a little Brownie Bullet camera. And then when I graduated high school, my parents gave me a camera, a DSLR, not a DSLR, a regular 35 millimeter camera. And that's kind of all she wrote. Then I knew I wanted to tell a story in pictures. And then, of course, one thing morphed into another. I worked there while I was going to college, and then I got completely out of it for a while and went on some other venues. I went on some PR venues, actually some stuff even with NASCAR PR, but I always had a love for this kind of business.
Oh, wow.
And the stars kind of aligned where I worked, aligned with Gold Country Media at the time, and there was an advertising opening, and I found my way back and then ended up back where I am now. So I guess that's when you find out that's what you belong doing. When you walked away from it and it comes back and finds you and pulls you back in. So I guess it's one of those things. It's a tough business these days, but I guess I'll steal words from another publisher that not far from here. He says it's the hardest job he ever loved. So you got to work hard to do it nowadays. It's not like it was back when I was in my 20s and we had 5 or 6 full-time photographers. That's all we did. Yeah. Now you wear multiple hats.
Sure.
Even if you're managing.
I'm sure you've seen the business change so much.
Oh yeah. I mean, You went from seeing buildings that, were packed with people writing, working, and doing everything to now, a reporter will generally take their own photos and, do all that themselves rather than having multiple people doing these. And that's just because times have changed with technology.
Yeah.
And to keep up with that, you got to streamline, and technology's helped with that too. When I started, we used that thing called film, in dark rooms. Sometimes even my stepdaughters are kind of, what's film,
Yeah, right.
So anyway, that's how I ended up back here. And it'll be 6 years in December.
Wow. Well, the newspaper has always been such a staple of any community. I mean, it seems like there's the library and the main bank and the school and there's the newspaper, right? I mean, it's like
exactly.
Get your news here, kid. Come on, what's the story?
Exactly, and that's why I think there'll always be a place for newspapers. You'll hear things, you hear the comments a lot. Oh, they still make those things? What's a newspaper? Or newspaper?
That's a good question. I think that's actually a good question.
Yeah.
Are you still printing the newspaper? Because some newspapers are not.
We're doing both. I mean, we have about 20,000 hard copy readers, that pick this thing up and read it. And then we have a digital version on our website. And of course, all the stories are on our website and our digital platforms as well. But yeah, there's still a market out there for that. Picking up, holding that piece. It's almost like a Norman Rockwell thing, they want to hold that paper. And the key to that is focusing on the community we're in. Don't get off track and, start talking about Washington and everything else. You hear that thing out there where people say, oh, newspapers are, doomed or all that. Well, a lot of your big metropolitan ones, yeah, it's a struggle for them because they're trying to cover so much and so broad and getting it out there that they're, it's a tough task to do.
So that's how you stay relevant and is that you're very community focused. As soon as you start talking about things that we could just Google search,
right? We're doing the stuff that's you're not going to find on that Google. Well, you will find it because it will take you to us, or it'll find its way there. Those community stories, the unique stories. Like this week, Matt Long did a story about how the local graduates are feeling and that they want a graduation and their thoughts and their emotions. You're not going to get that by, pulling up that little web blurb that maybe Fox News or somebody has. They're just going to have the hard facts. And these are the community stories of people in their community. And that's the key to all of our community papers. You got to have that special story that's not, you got to dig for it. There's a good saying we go by, because we'll have bad news too. Things happen, accidents, fires, whatever. The bad news will find us. It's out there. It's in reports. It's dispatched. We have it. We go out and find that good news. So.
Do you guys have a feedback loop for people wanting to submit story ideas and such?
Yeah, they can submit through our website. I mean, or they can just directly email to us also their story ideas. But we actually have a form on our FolsomTelegraph.com. You can go down to the bottom and submit a story idea. It ends up coming to us in an email form.
Yeah, good.
And we get back to people. That's a lot of times you find your best stories from somebody in the community that tells you about, hey, my neighbor's doing this, or I got a friend that's doing this, and that's how you get those unique stories that aren't everywhere. So
yeah, I love talking to people who have been around Folsom their entire life, or their family has been here through generations. When you run into them, and they have one of those, let me tell you what happened in that house.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of good history here. When I was like 13, between 13 and 50, I don't remember the years. My best friend's dad, his mom and dad were divorced, and he actually lived in Folsom. His dad lived down here, actually back up here, kind of behind the historic district. So he would come down here on the weekends. And so I'd always come down here with him. We'd bring our bikes, because Folsom we just, ride around our bikes all day, and the bike trails. And they were there back then, as nice as they are now. But I remember riding around on Sutter Street, and, there's just a ton of great history here.
Yeah, it's super fun, right? I mean, if you pay attention, you're going to be learning a lot all the time. Speaking of that, did you have to like part of your job, did you have to learn the history of the Folsom Telegraph? Do you get asked about its history a lot?
I mean, it's not a requirement. It wasn't on the job description, but it's something you definitely want to do. And a few years ago, when they celebrated their 150th year, they did a special section, which we still have a few around. It's all on history, and of course, I read that mainly because I was curious, And yeah, you want to be able to answer that. You don't want to have to say, I don't know. It's kind of like if you're not a football fan and somebody asks you who won the Super Bowl, you want to at least know, right?
Yeah.
To have something, you don't want to sit there and go, I have no idea. So, yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing. You want to know some background of what you're doing and where you're at, and try to incorporate that. We try to keep some of that in our current papers. We have our vintage Folsom section where we work with the museum, the history museum. We always have an old photo and something from their archives, which a lot of came from this paper originally. So it's keeping history as part of that newspaper it's essential, because that's the only place they're going to get it. They're not going to find the history on their city from some web-based TV news company or something like that. You're going to find it on those archives.
Speaking of that, you helped me find old copies of the Folsom Telegraph that I was able to photocopy and incorporate into our art that is hanging on the walls here at Reset, which is so fun.
We have yet to hang out near it too.
Oh yeah. That'll be a good day. What's one of your favorite stories that you've seen like throughout the years? Because it's been a kick. I mean, we've got the stories on our walls right now are just hilarious. I love them. The letters. There was a letter to the editor I read where somebody was complaining about kids playing a piano that was in a church space, I think, and they were like playing chopsticks all the time and putting the piano out of tune. And write a letter to the editor about how. I mean, it was hilarious.
Just total thugs.
Yeah. What are some of the stories that you've read that you've gone, that's a kick?
I like that stuff too. When you look back and you see, of course, there's all the stories that we love to cover in our current times. Covering the Folsom Rodeo in our current times and all the patriotism and stuff, and we have a championship football team. Those are the great stories you love to cover. But when you look back on the history, I like those simple ones too. And I actually think in that batch of papers you and I went through, there was a front page, and the whole front page of the paper was dedicated to who was named the Orangevale Queen.
Oh, yes. Breaking news.
And I mean, it was banner headlines on the top. And I'm going, this was big news back then.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, is the simple stuff about, that the fire department came and got Mrs. Smith's cat out of the tree.
Exactly.
On Tuesday. And there's always some sort of weird fact in there, like saying what the cat ate afterwards or something. That's the stuff I like.
Back when it was the occasional telegraph.
Yeah, just that simple stuff where it's almost like you're having a conversation with somebody. They're telling you a story. And then the other stuff, the historical stuff, like when the dam was built, that was all amazing to see those old
great
articles and images. And imagine Folsom without a dam. It's just,
Right.
So, seeing the ones that are on the growth of the city, but it's those simple ones, just the crazy simple stuff, the Orangevale Fair Queen, and they had a whole parade back then for it and everything. It was good. It was a small town
as well.
And I still think of us as we're a small town community. We're in a big city.
Yeah.
I think all of us have a small town mindset. We have a hometown parade, and we have that. We all think just like that those days back then. And I think that's what keeps us strong as a newspaper, is because that's where that community newspaper and that community feel.
Yeah.
It's still, we haven't gotten to the point where we're like a Los Angeles or a central Sacramento. We still got a small town appeal. Like, hopefully it never goes away.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's part of your mission, is to maintain that feel?
I think so. I mean, I think we're about a lot more than just bringing the community news. I mean, we're an important voice in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like we're seeing that now during all of these stay-at-home orders and everything, we've actually seen a spike in subscriptions. Some of our people are calling, We have people that call and solicit subscriptions, and they're calling people in the community and kind of checking in on them and seeing how they're doing. And we have a special going on, and I think it's important because there's a lot of people here. They are shut in, especially when you get to your seniors. You know, they want to stay in, and we have a service to them. Let them know what's going on in their community, because you know that older couple that's living somewhere, they probably don't go to a high school football game, but they might like to know that, wow, our city just won this big game, won this championship, or, you know, that's the thing. We bring them that stuff that they won't see elsewhere. It's happening right here in their town, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever think about bringing back the Paperboy bicycle route idea?
It's funny. We had a guy that worked for us a while back that actually, he worked in our graphics department. He used to be a paperboy in Folsom. And he told me how, he says, man, those hills down in the historic district used to kill me.
Oh gosh. Yes.
We have carriers now. I'm not sure any of them would do it though. You know, can you imagine riding all the streets in Folsom? That'd be a heck of a ride. I never had a paper route when I was a kid. Did you?
No, I didn't. I actually, my dad owned a business as a painting contractor. And so as soon as I could hold a brush, I was, I was working with my dad.
Yeah.
So that's,
I never had the paper.
I've got latex coursing through my veins.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually my wife had a paper route. She was in the Southern California area when she was younger. She told me I guess we could recruit her to start up a team. So.
And she could sing as she does it.
Yeah. We can do that
because
your wife. Folsom's a big biking community, so we could probably get a good team together and we get the bike shops to sponsor it. We probably have to buy some high-dollar bikes nowadays, though. For
yeah. Well, they're available.
Yeah.
Hey, so you mentioned your wife. Tell us a little bit about your home life. I know your wife because we recently had her on our open mic, our virtual open mic, which was super fun. But tell us about your family.
My family. My parents are both passed. My mom passed way back in November, and I grew up near Placerville, where I started to work, born and raised up there, which isn't far from here. 20 minutes. I met my wife about 7 years ago, and we got married 2 years ago. And we knew each other way back when, and both went different directions, and then we reunited. We found each other it was kind of just one of those ironic things where we bumped into each other again. We both had lived previous lives. We'd been divorced, and we reconnected. Because back when I knew each other before, we weren't dating. We just had met each other. So that's how we met. And we live here in Folsom. I've lived here in Folsom for about 7 years. She lived here longer than I did. I lived in Cameron Park, was the furthest I got down before that, off the hill. So she's a state attorney, and a singer, as you know, a musician, as you know. She likes the musician part of it, the creative part, more than anything. So she's very she tolerates this, because this is one of those businesses that you might be home on Friday night at 6:00, want to have a glass of wine or something, and something's on fire somewhere, or something's going on, and you gotta go cover it or get somebody to cover it. And she's very patient that way.
Yeah.
So I will say that. It's at the same time, she also has taught me to slow down a little bit.
I don't have COVID. I just had a little.
It's okay. You can't catch it through Zoom, I heard. Yet.
Yeah.
So basically, it's been a good balance that way. She's always teaching me to slow down once in a while and just turn off the think meter. Because I'm one of those people. I'm kind of like you. I'm always thinking of, what can we do next? What can we do next? So.
How fun though that, in a business like yours, you can be creative. You can say, okay, well, what do we need to report on? What do we do next? What kind of a thing do we start? And I think that's fun.
How can we make it look different, and everything like that? That's all part of it, the look and appeal, and it's all good and it's all fun. We've won a good amount of awards in the last 3 years, and when you do that, you're being recognized by your peers for your work, and that's when it's just a plaque on the wall.
Yeah.
it's judged upon by other people in the industry. And that's when you know, okay, this creative thing that I love to do is meaningful. And I always say those awards they're not our awards or the writer or the photographer that took them. It's the community. Those belong to this community because they support us and they embrace us and they include us in everything. We try to stay on with sponsorship of like community service day and, the ice rink and all this, the rodeo, everything we can work together with to help those in our community we do. Businesses like yours, when they open, we always try to do, stories and stuff. So we'll get there eventually.
Let's do a story when we open.
Yeah, exactly.
But we opened on the 2nd of March, the soft opening, and then had our official opening on the 9th and closed on the 15th. So, yeah, it'll be fun to open.
Yeah, let's hope it's soon. I think we're all ready. We're definitely all ready.
How do you reset then, Bill? That's a question I like asking people here. How do you, rejuvenate and find energy and rest and get new perspective? How do you reset?
That goes back to the thing like I told you. I said where my wife has to kind of force my hand to say, hey, you need to take a break. You need to stop. So, the summertime comes along. A lot of times we'll plan a trip to Tahoe, something like that. I almost have to get away to get, to kind of just break the connection. So I'm not, drawn in, because otherwise I'll just end up doing something locally, daily or weekly, that type of thing. I'll go on a bike ride, whether it's a road bike or a mountain bike ride, and I will do that to basically socially distance. I was socially distancing that way before this all started. And, we've got a beautiful place to do that, where you can go and, hop on a bike and go enjoy a lake or a stream or a forest, or ride down to, Sutter Street and enjoy it there. So that's probably the best way I've done, just resetting.
Or fill a large basket with newspapers on your handlebars while you're out biking.
There we go. I deliver it too. I haven't done that yet, but I've delivered a couple when we've missed a route. It's not as easy to throw those things out of a car as I don't know how those guys do it. I had to get out and move it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just get out and enjoy outdoors and enjoy something, get away from the TV. That's probably the best way you want to reset, even if it's hanging out in the backyard next to a fire pit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And
are you a coffee
guy?
guy?
Try to put the phone down and just enjoy the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Are you a coffee guy?
Yeah, I mean, in this business, I think we're all coffee people because we thrive off that caffeine and go. So I don't drink as much as I used to, but yeah, I mean,
I'll fix that.
It's an everyday thing. So,
what do you like? Dark coffees, medium roast? Like, do you have a specific region coffee?
I'm more of a medium roast, and I'm one of those that load it up a little too much with creamer or sweetener.
Oh, we call that. We have a station in Reset. We call it the coffee ruining station.
Yeah. We're almost loaded up too much because if I drank black coffee, I'd probably be bouncing off the walls anyway. But I'm more of the medium roast, sweeter.
Okay.
That type of size. I mean, I used to do mochas all the time. Quit doing that because when you start seeing what the calories are in a mocha, it's kind of crazy. So, gone back to the other stuff, but I'll load them up for that extra dessert-like flavor. I'm not a black coffee guy. My dad used to drink black coffee every day, and I don't know how he did that. So
I know how he did it. It's because he was a man, Bill. Yeah. Because he was a man.
Yeah, he had a lot of energy, so that explains why he had he managed grocery stores, and that was when they had those big coffee machines.
Yes.
You remember ones where you put the quarter in or whatever? And I never watched them as a kid because it'd be funny because half the time, like the cup would drop and no coffee would come out, or the cup wouldn't drop and the coffee would start pouring out, and you'd watch them yell at the machine. And it was humorous back in those days. That coffee had to be horrible.
Or the styrofoam cup with knockover, like as it poured out, knock over,
and the coffee's going everywhere, and banging on the machine. And I never drank coffee out of those machines. I don't think I wanted. It had to be hideous. I mean, I guess in the day that was a Keurig.
Yeah.
That was the Keurig of the day, pretty much.
Now you're going to get me on a tangent. I'm going to have to go like research the history of horrible coffee dispensers.
I'm thinking they must have used an instant coffee of some sort, and it just filtered it through it, because it certainly wasn't, unless there was a guy in there making it. We just didn't know it. It was a little barista.
Just a little guy in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that's what it was, circus performer.
Yeah, like when I was a real little kid thinking, in your record player, there's somebody in there singing, kind of that maybe. So.
Hey man, I'm glad that you did this today. Thank you.
This was fun.
I appreciate it. Is there anything you would like to communicate to everybody who's watching this? Anything I left out?
No, just other than, everybody, stay safe during this that we're going through, and thanking them for the support. I don't want to do a pitch on here to everybody. Just thanking the community for their support. And if anybody wants to support the community newspaper, the best thing you can do out there, if you're living here, subscribe for $3 a month. That helps us more than anything. And
that's good. Thank you. I'm glad you said that.
And when people wonder, how's that $3 a month help? Well, the more subscribers we have, the more attractive we are to national advertisers, and it all works together. It's all about eyes reading that paper. So,
gotcha.
And it's easy. You can subscribe on our website, or if somebody was watching this, send an email at folsomtelegraph@oldcountrymedia.com, and we'll get you the right people. That's the easiest way right now during this.
And you could use that line for the cost of a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, $3 a month, plus you get the entertainer once a month too. If you're a home subscriber, that comes delivered in your paper.
Okay, good.
So where else can you get a nice, gloss magazine once a month? I like to say, people, they go, I want the entertainer. Okay, well then you get 4 telegraphs with it a month. So either way you look at it, it's a good deal.
Yeah, that's good.
Deliver that to your doorstep or to the mail, which we hope to eventually be delivered by the mail. So.
And then you can open up that paper and the smell. Oh, it's so good, right?
Yeah, that printed paper smell with a cup of coffee.
Oh, it's perfect.
It is.
Doesn't get any better.
No.
All right, man. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Peace, love, and daily resets, okay?
Okay, hopefully we'll do that in person soon.
I hope so. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.